Hi, Mom. I'm creating this video as a way to thank you for supporting me in my education. I'm going to be doing an overview of what I learned about our cultural dish of black-eyed peas and collard greens. And I'm going to be going over some terms I learned in anthropology. And so the first term I want to talk about is reciprocal balance. So reciprocity is like relational and energetic. So it's a way of receiving and giving back between people or communities. Um, so you gave me this knowledge from your history and from our family and from our evolving culture. And then I took that information and I studied it and created something. And so my way of giving back to you for sharing that with me is sharing what I learned and then also cooking with you this summer, which will be really bonding. So I've had a really good time exploring this dish and Southern cuisine. Um, I guess I could explain what cuisine is, but I think you already know. So when I go through exploring my memories of you cooking black-eyed peas and collard greens, it's very much centered around your cultural role as mother. And a cultural role is it's who you are within our culture and the expectations that everybody has for you. Like for you as our mother, your cultural role was to provide us with nurturing through food. I mean, you raised us mostly on your own. And so I remember you always cooking for us and providing love and support and and you know making this dish for us. And it brought like the smell of the dish just wraps you in like memories. And I wrote in my final case study that this is a tangible way, a way we can touch our memories from childhood is to make this dish that we ate while we were growing up. So the cultural significance of this dish is it's rooted in Southern comfort food. Um, and there is symbolism within this meal. So symbolism is where something represents, like a food can represent something. And so this food represented luck, as you know. And so there we also part we did this ritual where we would have this meal. So a ritual is something that you practice and engage in a way that has a structure. So we would ritualize New Year's Day by eating black-eyed peas and collard greens. And so a lot of the South did that. And let's see, there are some there's linguistic significance. So that's like the way we speak about it. I learned that black-eyed peas and collard greens were actually once called coins and greenbacks or peas and greens. And I was really like, oh, wow, I wonder why we call them black-eyed peas and collard greens. The truth that I found out was that black-eyed peas are a version of cowpeas. And so I thought peas and greens was more was closer to the true root of the dish because I learned it comes from Africa. I also talked about code switching in my study. So code switching is when you're around a certain community or group of people where you all share the same kind of phrases and you understand each other through a specific way of speaking. And so for instance, when you said that the dish was rib stick and good, that is Southern vernacular, which is like a Southern way of speaking, Southern phrase. And so you would code switch, you would speak and then you would say rib stick and good. I also wrote in here that Southern women are known to be sweet as pie. So that would be another code switch. Um, let's see what else. Da, da, da. So for the biological end, what I learned was that black-eyed peas actually made their way from West Africa. And they are really resilient and they grow in drought really easily. And that resilience, I thought, was very much reflected in the people who brought them over. So, like, enslaved people were brought over from Africa, and so with them, they carried the black-eyed peas. There's something called the cultural frame. So it's like the perspective at the time, the cultural frame at the time when these enslaved people brought the black-eyed peas over was that it was like primitive animal feed. And so when the Union soldiers came through, they left that food. They were like, oh, that's for the animals. And so the people that were left there in those states ended up surviving off of black-eyed peas, and they were easy to grow. And you know, in the South, it's super hot. So it was a similar climate. And so I saw that this crop was really resilient. And then the people who were enslaved that survived all of that were also very resilient. And so that's a connection point that I think is really important. There are some archaeological findings that I learned about. So there's this thing called paleobotany, and they study charred seeds, and in this case, beans that date back to time. They go back in time through this like genetic testing, and they find out that these black-eyed peas are 6,000 years old, which is wild. So like that's how long this has been going on, and they came out of Africa. That was what these charred seeds were. That's where they found out they were from, central Ghana. And we found out that these were intercropped, which means they were grown alongside other crops. And I was just thinking, wow, we could totally grow some black-eyed peas in a garden for you. You always intercrop just naturally, like tomatoes and green beans and everything else. And I know that you always knew like what things could grow together well. So that is just an example of how black-eyed peas could easily work in your garden. So yeah, I wanted to thank you for everything you gave me, and having such a rich subject to study. It made it easy and fun to learn, and I can't wait to see you this summer. We have like about a month until we see each other, and we're gonna have some black-eyed peas and collard greens with kielbasa. I love you, Mom.